Hello, welcome to Insight. I'm in the most acoustically pure room I've ever been in for an Insight. I'm in a recording studio, one of Crossroads recording studio. And I was told, don't turn any knobs. You can't tell me not to turn any knobs and expect me not to turn any knobs. This is very good. I feel like just being Barry White in here with a nice deep voice recording in a studio. But we're going to look at the book of John, chapter 20. This is a pre-Easter devotional for us to think about going into Easter. Easter's coming up, which is obviously the most important day, maybe in history, the day when God brings Jesus back to life, the day when God himself conquers death. In the book of Romans says, the same Spirit who rose Jesus from the dead brings life to your mortal body. So that same exact power that brought Jesus from the dead is a power that God can bring to bear in the midst of all of our problems and all of our celebrations in our life as well. And wedged right in the middle of this crazy transcendent story that's repeated again and again in the Gospels, we have something that's actually a little lighthearted that I want to spend time on. Can we handle something lighthearted the week of Easter? I know it's about Jesus dies and he arrested and dies and crucified and resurrected. I mean, heavy stuff. But let's do something like, it's actually here in John 20. Here's what it says. Now, John 20 verse 1 is what I'm looking at. Now, on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb early while it was still dark and saw that the stone had been taken away from the tomb. So she ran and she went to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one whom Jesus loved, and said to them, "They've taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they've laid him." A few things are going on here that are really noteworthy. One is the first recorded witness of the empty tomb is a woman, Mary Magdalene. This is one of the reasons why we should always trust the Bible. The Bible is telling us what happened. It's not trying to give us an ironclad, easy to believe thing. If it was trying to give people in the first, second, and third centuries an easy to believe thing, it wouldn't have had a woman be the first eyewitness when in courts of law in all ancient lands, women weren't allowed to give testimony in court. If you're making this story up, you would make it be Peter who saw first and then went and spread the word. But no, it's recording history that a woman did. This is part of what Jesus does. He elevates us as people, and he elevates the status of women. Every culture where Jesus' followers go into, the status of women gets elevated. Maybe not as high as it should be, but definitely higher than it was. That's a really head turn here when you're reading this. Another head turn here, I don't know if you picked it up. She ran and went to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one who Jesus loved. How many disciples are there, by the way? You know how many disciples there are? I have no idea how many other disciples there are. We think about there's 12 disciples. Well, there was the original 12 disciples, but Jesus had dozens and dozens and dozens of disciples. He sends out 72 at one point to take his message around. Those are 72 disciples, people who he had been discipled, people who were close to him. Maybe not as close as the original 12 were, not living with him as much as the original 12 were, but I'm a disciple of Christ. I hope you're a disciple of Christ. The word there in the Greek is methetes, somebody who comes under and is disciple. Are you a disciple, someone who's coming under and replicating Jesus' life? Or are you somebody who just watches Jesus' life, who critiques Jesus' words, who is a fair weather fan of Jesus? Or are you actually under him and under his work? When I first read this, I thought, oh, that's really cool, the other disciple. It's great. Like, they're not even saying the other disciple. We don't even have the name of it. It's just the other disciple. There's kind of this intrigue. Like, there's people who are witnesses to Jesus' resurrection. We don't even know who they are. And then I realized, no, that's not what's happening here. It says the other disciple, the one whom Jesus loved. The one whom Jesus loved. Who would be that disciple, the one who Jesus loved? It would be John, he is known as the beloved disciple, the one who's reclining at the Last Supper, has his head up against Jesus' chest, is referred to as the one Jesus loved. He's John the beloved, the one Jesus loved. So apparently, the woman, Mary Magdalene, reports to Peter, and the one Jesus loved. Doesn't even say the name, one Jesus. And by the way, who's writing this account in John chapter 20? Yes, the disciple John, who is the one Jesus loved. I love it. I'm sorry. I have to see humor here. John wrote this down. He said, I'm not going to put my name in. We're just going to let people know. It wasn't Peter. It was the one Jesus loved. That's who. It was the one Jesus loved. I believe there was humor here with this between Peter and John. I believe John was having maybe a little kick out of the idea that you and I would be reading this forever and ever and ever, and people would keep hearing that he's the one Jesus loved and not Peter. Jesus obviously loved Peter, but to call us out is really humorous. There's an old book written by Elton Trueblood called The Humor of Jesus. We really miss the humor of Jesus in our current time because our humor doesn't match ancient humor. In fact, there's some movies, older movies, that I thought were really, really funny that just don't hold up. Someone told me they just watched What About Bob, an old Bill Murray movie, and Richard Dreyfuss. They watched What About Bob with their son. And what do you know? He said it didn't hold up. It wasn't as funny as he remembers it. Taste and humor changes over time. Now, Tommy Boy will always be around fat guy in little coat. Yeah, that will always be around. But humor changes. So we miss the humor that was in Jesus' teaching. We miss that in that day's humor where you would paint a picture of mine that was ridiculous, it would be humorous. Like when he talks about taking the speck out of your brother's eye, before you take the speck out of your brother's eye, take the log out of your own eye. And his hearers would picture a massive log sticking out of his eye, and they go, ha! Oh, that's good. A log under your eyelid. Oh, I didn't think about that one coming. He was humorous, Jesus was. And here we see John, I believe, being humorous. He could have said John, but he says the one whom Jesus loved. Now, let's keep going here. They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have laid him. We don't know where we've laid them. That's what Mary Magdalene says. So Peter went out with the other disciple. Which one? The one who the Lord loved. And they were going toward the tomb. Both of them were running together, but the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. I'm sorry. This is just funny. What consequence is it that John outran Peter? Does that add anything to the story? Do we know anything about the power of God because John was a faster runner than Peter? Does that tell us anything? Does it help us live our lives any more full knowing that John could beat Peter in a foot race? No, it doesn't. John just wanted to include that because he wanted to just put it in Peter's face forever. Yeah, you fat fisherman, I just ran faster than you did, and everyone's going to know it because the woman came and told me, the one that Jesus loved, and I outran you. Sorry, that's just funny. I can't think of any reason why that detail would be in here. It doesn't add anything to the story other than John just liked including it because it gave him amusement. You know what the big application for today is? Hey, how about we amuse ourselves more often? How about that? How about we look for things that are funny more often? How about we stop trying to find the hidden meaning in everything and we just lighten up every once in a while? Maybe one of the reasons why the cause of Christ seems to not be advancing and why there seems to not be as many people engaged in the cause of Christ as there should be is because we just got too many sourpusses in our midst. We got too many people who are looking for deep theology all the time. We got too many people who are trying to, I want to feel the Shekinah glory of God in the midst of a worship center. Maybe we just have too many people who are making the Christian life too hard and too deep and too serious. Maybe we need to lighten up. And maybe if we lighten up, we start laughing a little bit. Maybe people would wonder, hey, what is it about the joy of those people? They're actually people I'd want to spend time with. We are supposed to be people of the light. People of the light see things that other people don't see, and we should be laughing at things that other people don't laugh. People of the salt. We're supposed to have a saltiness to us. Jesus refers to us as light, and he refers to us as salt. A salt has this there's just, when you have a Ruffles potato chip, you can't just have one. There's just you want more. There should be something about our personalities, something about the way we carry ourselves that should make people to be around us more. And guess what? People don't want to be around sourpusses who are always looking for deeper meanings and always looking for a higher transcendent moment. We need to be normal people who chuckle every once in a while and just like to laugh. And I think that was John. And I think Peter would appreciate it because every fisherman I know wants to laugh. And that needs to be me to a greater degree. And I hope you. So there's the deep teaching for today. Let's lighten up and let's run faster than our friends. God, thank you for our time today. Thank you for being a God, not just of depth, but of levity. And I pray you'd lighten the load and give us something that causes the corner of our mouth to crack a smile. Amen.